Well, welcome to the daily update. It is Tuesday, August 4th, and it has been an interesting couple of hours, just to say the least. Supposedly, actually, two people this morning. And by the way, thanks for that, Bird Dog. Sent me that a bunch of states have been dealing with cyber attacks all day. Nowhere in X, nowhere in the mainstream. The only thing I'm seeing in my feed, and again, this is my fault because I was doing some testing this morning. The only thing in my feed is the SAVE Act and all the other nonsense that's not going anywhere. As far as local news, they're just talking about the election and endorsements for the election, which no one cares. And then the other part of my feed is, or I should say feeds, because it's multiple now, is all this nonsense with these grocery stores. These communist grocery stores, this is why they dumb down education. So people don't remember what actually happened and what failed and what didn't fail. And by the way, I'm late today because I spent almost 2.5 hours sitting at the Apple store trying to get my laptop and so I had to replace the battery in a Mac. I didn't realize that was a process. It took 7 days for them to do it. They had to replace the case and a bunch of other stuff. I'm sure the CIA and FBI took their share of my data, probably most of, if not all, of my goat porn. And, because they're porn buddies for everybody. But 2 hours doing that. And it's interesting how the Apple store has changed, right? I mean, it's amazing to me. Like next, I had to order a battery for my iPhone because they didn't have in stock. And of course, I'm waiting for them to put the battery in that's already set up to hose my operating system. So I have to upgrade my phone, or they installed some software when they did the test, which hoses my phone. I'm just waiting for it. Every time I've replaced a battery in an Apple product, the operating system takes a dump on itself and it stops working. So yeah, there's that. I was doing just simple analysis this morning of the feeds, and I'm going to go on. I'm going to say that 80% of what we see is bots. And if you're new to listening to me, I should walk through a couple of things so you understand my perspective on a lot of this. When the Army decided to start getting into the cyber business, it really didn't know what to do. It really didn't know how to apportion out forces for cyber. And at the time, between 2004 and I'm going to say 2012, 13, the Army was trying to figure out how to apportion forces for doing cyber defense, cyber attacks, cyber exploitation, right? You have the units that are sitting at NSA that are a part of the National Security Agency. You now have U.S. Cyber Command. I sat in the Army CERT. I sat at Fort Belvoir, and I ran a team that was partially at Fort Meade and a team that was partially at Fort Belvoir as a part of First Information Operations Command. I don't even think they exist anymore. I think they were melded into the Army Cyber Fusion Center, which is a good bullshit term for network operations. But the Army didn't know what to do with cyber, right? The Air Force had a clear plan, right? They've got specific units designated to do specific cyber tasks. Cyber exploitation, cyber attack, that sits in one unit. Cyber defense sits in another unit, right? And they've got it apportioned across the Air Force. The Army didn't do that. Why? Because they put a bunch of signal dopes and a bunch of automation dopes in charge of doing cyber. And they did list of the guys who were actually doing cyber in the real world. And I had reservists in my unit, and these guys all did this for a living. Like I had one of the foremost cyber forensics experts in the entire North American continent. One of the smartest guys I've ever worked with. Right? Army didn't listen to him. Right? We went to conferences. We sat in front of general officers. We went to all of the different combatant commands. We supported Pacific Command, as a part of our AOR, area of responsibility. And PACOM, they welcomed us with open arms. Even the Navy. You know, I ran a Navy Comm Center, the Navy Joint Network Communications Center at PAC Fleet as an Army major. And it's because the Navy realized these guys know what they're doing, and we should put them on staff when they support us for both exercises and real worlds, and give them joint billets, because these guys can come in and fix things. They can actually do shit. And the Army didn't see it that way, right? So when I retired, the Army took the unit that I was in command of and melded it under Fifth Signal. So now they're all staff pukes. And it's yet another example of why I detest academics in the signal world, and why I detest academics at Fort Leavenworth, because they're all nitwits, every single one of them. They don't understand anything about cyber. They understand even less about computers. They only know the on-off switch. That's the only thing they know. And if I'm offending some of you that are Fort Leavenworth, good. You didn't hear us the first time. It's like, what do you say to a politician with two black eyes? Nothing. They didn't hear you the first two times, right? That's exactly how I feel about Fort Leavenworth. Other than history, they don't know how to do shit. And because of that, we're suffering right now, both in cooperation and maybe they fixed it. Maybe I'm just going to say maybe they fixed it. I haven't heard they have. I've heard even worse, but you know, I'm going to stay in the middle of the road on that, because I really don't know. But part of what we are seeing right now across the spectrum, especially with critical infrastructure, and let me tell you how critical infrastructure works. So all of the different utilities are responsible for their own infrastructure. They all have security teams. They all have some measure of awareness of SCADA systems, or protecting SCADA systems, right? But inherently, SCADA systems are proprietary, which means you could have an operating system as old as Windows 98 that cannot be upgraded, right? It's like the oil business. You put an oil derelict in a field, you don't touch it until it stops working. So it could be 5, 10, 20, 30 years old, still pumping gas, but you haven't touched it. And that's the same thing with SCADA system, right? SCADA systems, by and large, they control water systems, they control rail systems, they control public sewers, they control a lot of different parts of the critical infrastructure across our grid. We've done nothing to harden those, nothing. I mean, I can tell you I've been in confrontational shouting matches with FEMA and a few other organizations, just trying to get them to pay attention that this was a problem. This was 10 years ago. Actually, longer than that. It's 15 years ago now. And they didn't want to hear it. And again, this was in the middle of Obama. So Obama was basically dismantling anything we had in place to be prepared for anything. But anyway, the reason why I'm bringing all this up is we are going to see cyber attacks here. We are seeing them right now. And typically how cyber attacks work, and the game is changing with AI. Like literally just before I got on this show, I sat down and I was working with Claude. I literally told Claude, go out and make me a voting tabulation system that's secure, that can run on secure Linux, and make sure that it can't be tampered with. Once the code is compiled, it can't be manipulated, and the code base can't be manipulated. It's a one and done. It works out of the box, and the only way that you can update it is through a comma separated file with just the names of the candidates, and that's it. And then all it does after that is tabulate votes. And I can set it up to read ballots, whatever. Right? I'm going to do that next, and I'm going to run the fucker on a Raspberry Pi, and I'm going to take it down to the state here and show them this is what a secure voting system, tabulation system looks like. You people suck. Anyway, but I'm bringing this up because AI has changed the game. And AI used to be, it would take weeks for somebody to dumpster dive and get information, then to profile, then to do reconnaissance on your network to figure out which ports were open, figure out what operating systems using, social engineer their way in to either get a password or not get a password, and figure out how hardened your systems were, and then breach your perimeter. And that process took about, I don't know, anywhere between 6 weeks and 6 months. Now with AI, especially with Claude, it can, some of the newer versions, it can go out and hack into systems, and already has, just in test in minutes, right? I need this information, I can't get to it, so it hacks and gets it. So the game's changed. And the reason why that's dangerous is that anything's connected. Anything in your domain, whether it's your house, your business, your car, anything that's connected is susceptible. And it's never been a matter of if they can hack in or if AI can hack in, it's when, right? And this is one of the things so I got out of the CISO business in March. I was done with it. Like, I'm done doing the chief information security officer role. I'm done with it. And I'm done with it for a couple of reasons. One, every company talks a really good game about security. And you walk in the door and you're a change agent. And you have to tell them when you walk in the door that you have to balance costs, right? You can respend your IT budget by a factor of 3 if you don't pay attention to costs for security tooling. But if you're serious about security, it's not just doing the steps and buying the insurance and building the perimeter. It's educating your entire business to think about security and think about being secure and doing secure things. And invariably, every time you walk, my last 4 organizations, literally walk in the door and, yeah, you have this budget, you have this number on your head count, blah, 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 and then it never works out. They give you 15% of the budget. They tell you they give you 10% of the head count, and then they give you none of the time or the resources to actually go do anything. And in fact, one of the organizations I worked at was almost 4 years. I didn't touch the tech in 4 years. 4 years. And now I'm very, very, like, recruiter called me this morning and was like, hey, we want you to go do this classified program. And I'm like, nope, not doing that. First of all, I don't ever want to take a polygraph ever again, ever, infinity, ever. And secondly, I don't want to work in classified programs again. And I don't want to be a CISO because there's too much liability. I said, if you want me to consult, I'll go consult. I will do it both remote and on site. That's fine. I'll go travel. That's fine. But I'm not going to get into a skiff. I'm not doing any classified information, blah, blah, blah. Right? So what I'm building here is I'm building a profile of why the security business is in the state of flux right now. It's not just the technology and the AI. It's the fact that people in the business like me are looking at it going, this is literally just a margin business that is being pushed towards insurance companies and insurability. And that's a whole different game versus defense, right? Cyber defense is expensive. And with AI, which there's a lot of literally every AI sales guy across the planet has reached out to me in the last couple of months and said, hey, sir, really could help you out on the AI side. Our AI product does whiz bang shit that will make sure that you're secure. We've taught it to do everything from log aggregation to SIEM tool, which is security event and incident monitoring, and it will provide you alerts that are realistic and not send you noise. And I'm like, step away from the bog. The point is the business is changing, the industry is changing, and AI is changing, and it's changing at a pace that I think is outpacing the industry. So we're going to see cyber events that are sophisticated, agile, quick, and they're not going to be stoppable. So my advice to everybody, number one, if you can air gap your car, if you have a new car that's 21 or 22 or older, I would say even 18, 19, and newer, disconnect the telematics unit. And you do it through popping the breaker. And I would do it soon because I'm as soon as I get through with this, I'm going to go out and pull both mine. I had it out for a while, put it back in, blah, blah, blah. You're going to lose some features, but I guarantee you, you're going to thank yourself for it later when a major cyber attack hits. And I don't think it's too far away. They've already been talking about major cyber attacks here because of Iranians. Yeah, MI6, Mossad, CIA, yeah, whatever. That's the first thing. The second thing is you should have an air gap computer that doesn't talk to wireless. And if there is an attack, my answer is turn off your Wi-Fi, turn off your internet service provider, and wait it out. Go back to the radio, because that's going to be the only secure medium that's going to give you any fidelity into what's going on. And even then, I'd switch to ham radio just to, just so I'm not listening to some programmed newscaster selling me BS. So that's on the horizon. And then on top of that, remember that this war is going to be going a long time. So we're going to see other cyber attacks too. So you should have extra food, extra water, and I'll keep beating the drum on this, right? Extra food, extra water, alternative comms. And if you can do it and you can afford it, air gap a laptop or a computer and just keep it warm. Update it every so often. Make sure it's got the latest security patches, blah, blah, blah. But then air gap it again. I have like 2 here that are air gapped, and I'm going to keep it that way because I don't trust the system. And I know there's going to be sophisticated attacks that happen probably in the next 6 months. I would say sooner, but that's what it is. So the next thing is the, how do I say this? This Trident sub thing. So this blew up my phone again this morning, this Trident sub commander. Like, I don't know the answer to that. I don't have any information. I got buckwheat hair. I don't have any information on who this guy is or what the reason is that he was relieved of command. But suffice it to say that there's a lot of conjecture around it. We're still in the window. I'd give this one 96 hours, even longer, because you may not hear anything, right? They may have put a gag order on him and said, don't talk about this. And if he's under orders to, he's not going to talk about it. So we'll see. But don't run down the road in the rabbit hole of somebody saying that he was going to fire nukes. There's no information to support that. So, and then the other thing about cyber too, which I forgot, is if you have one of these, it would be very, very wise to turn off everything that has to do with location. And if you can do a spare, this is graphene. If you can do a spare, great, do a spare. I have one that's loaded with graphene that I'm actually going to flash this today too, but it's loaded with graphene that's secure, that doesn't have no Googleware on it. No, like I don't have Google Maps or any of the rest of that shit. Once you Google a phone, they own you. They have everything. So I know, Bird Dog, I hate the ham shit too. Radio guys, they drive me absolutely nuts. First of all, they don't speak in bands of VHF or UHF. They talk in centimeters, which drives me insane. Like, does the fucking radio work? Well, sir, on 70 millimeters and 2 meters, does the fucking radio work? No, sir. Get out of my sight. Come back here when it works. I mean, that's the extent of all the knowledge I want to know about radios. Click the button, talk, people talk back, radio works. The rest of it, all that other nonsense around, you got to have this circuit and it's got to be this circuit, attenuation versus resistance. I don't care. Does the radio work? God, drives me. That's what drove me nuts about, some of the comm guys in the militaries. They talk megahertz. I'm like, my head hurts from your megahertz, so don't make my head hurt. Yeah. But, you get into cyber stuff, I'll get down to the code with it, right? So, but I don't talk about it, right? Because it bores the shit out of everyone. So anyway, point being, if you can have alternative comms, have alternative comms. But yeah, I'm still suffering my way through the general radio course. God, it makes my eyes hurt. Can only do it in small doses. One other thing too, let me get back to my notes here. One other thing that's been sitting out there too is this. So this fire in Spokane, I don't know if you guys been watching this. But today it came out that there's this, they seem to think that it's arson, and that it was started by somebody that's a foreigner. I don't know if he's illegal or not. They didn't say either way, but yeah, they say a butane lighter started it. 700 homes have burned down. And I have family up there, so it's been interesting to listen to that. All of them are still evacuated. Their homes are still standing, but they've been evacuated. So this will be an interesting. I want to see how they spin this, because they're going to spin it somewhat, probably towards climate change or some other bullshit. And it's just like the shooter. Notice how the shooter in Idaho Falls, there's been no information about him. Like, it's a complete blackout on this guy. There's been zero information about who he is, what his motivation was. You remember when the shooter that what was the latest one? Not this one, the other one, the school one. Anyways, trans shooter had the manifesto and everything. Like, they found it all within like 10 minutes. Nothing, none of that. This time it's completely blackout. So I'm curious to see what the spin's going to be, and what the narrative's going to be, because it's like, my guess is he probably had a handler. He was probably groomed to do it, probably in Discord. I'm just waiting to hear that. So if any of you get that, shoot it over to me. And by the way, a couple of admin notes here too. I'll get the prepper medicine hacks posted tonight. I've been working on that for a couple of days. I'm trying to look. I'm not going to give you medical advice, right? I'm just going to put it in the format that is the way the prepping community does it. You can decide for yourself. The second piece, I'll tell you what I do. And what I do is I do the liquid form of ivermectin. I do the paste form, and I have, hopefully you can see that. Oh, there we go. So same thing, same pills, everything. It's exact same pills. I was telling you about it last show or the show before. So that's a prepper hack, and I'll get that posted today. And then tomorrow, I might be late tomorrow. I'm working on fixing a couple of ARs, and I'm going to order a couple of Glocks and a couple of Smith & Wesson M&Ps tomorrow. So I'll be doing that in the morning. As far as the we're gonna, well, I don't know yet, but tentatively we have another gunfighter course, a night course in November here in Arizona at Ben Avery. More to follow on that. I'm not sure where that sits. I honestly haven't checked with Chris from Comet Studies to figure out where that's at. But if you want to come down to Arizona, that's a great time to come down. Come down middle of the month. It's still semi-warm, warm during the day, cooler at night. But you'll get to hang out with Troop and I, and with Chris from Combat Studies. There'll probably be a few others out here from the round table. I'm trying to get Longshot out here, trying to get Colonel Johnson out here, trying to get Bracken to come out in November to do the gunfighter course. So you'll get to hang out with all of us and realize that we're real people. So look for that. I'll get once we get that pinned down. I think we have the dates pinned down. Let's see here. Looks like 17, 18, 19 in November. And we have the ranges locked. We have the ranges locked down. So even if we don't do the gunfighter course, we'll do day-night ranges. So you can come out in zero. If you want to come down and bring multiple firearms and shoot, it depends on which format we do. If we do gunfighter, that's going to be a class. So they probably won't be an open shoot. But if you want to come down, if we don't do the course, we're still going to run the range, and there'll be a range fee. And then if you want to come down 0 weapons, shoot weapons, whatever, and do break fix, because I'll be there with my tools so I can fix stuff on the range. Feel free. So more to follow on that. Last but not least, so if you're a subscriber to Substack, which there's been several people that signed up, you can get one of these. You just have to DM me, shoot me your address, and I will send you a coin. If you want t-shirts, everything else, it's in the show description, where to go. You can just click an order and they show up at your house. So look for that. And I'm going to stand up the Spreadshirt shop again. So, because I've been getting a ton of requests. People want, other than the gray shirt or the blue like this, folks want the option to go get multiple colors and styles and sweatshirts and all that. I'm not going to stock all that. I'm just going to stock the polos that the team wears and the t-shirts the team wears. So, and the mugs. So if you want anything of that, look for Spread Shop. I'll get that set up again and get that going probably by the end of the week. And then look for the lists, the bug out bag lists. I'm still working on that. I'll get that done this week too. So it'll all be out there. Keep your eyes open. Pay attention to the NDAA. We probably won't see that voted on in the next week because it's all about the SAVE Act, but keep your eye on that. And let's see if that actually goes through. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 o'clock, 4 Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Colonel Watkins is going to be on the roundtable tomorrow night. I think Michael Yon may jump on the roundtable tomorrow night. Bracken's out this week. He's gone. So we'll look for us there. And if you can, like or follow the show, especially on YouTube, like and follow. Same thing with Rumble. If you follow us on Rumble and you follow us on YouTube, it helps boost our exposure and moves us up in ranks so that we get shown on the homepage when you log in. So everything helps the show and helps get the word out. And I'll be back tomorrow afternoon at 4. God bless. One team, one fight.